Welcome to Podcast on the Porch with
Teresa
and Carrie. We're sitting on Teresa's porch on Sunday. I don't even know, is it the 20th?
It could be the 20th. Yes, it could be.
Yeah.
Carrie might be a little bit of a whiner right now, but she did bring her own blanket. I feel that the podcast on the porch is coming to a short end for the season, and we'll have to move it to the couch again.
Probably, but I will say I have been down a little bit because I've had to work a couple double shifts. So I slept most of my day away, and I don't recall much of today. So I thought it was cold outside, and it's actually pretty nice. I mean, I got a sweatshirt on.
You did bring your own blanket, so that's good.
Yeah. I have capris on, and my slippers.
Yeah.
And my hair's wet. I'm actually not cold, so we're okay. So tonight, we're gonna talk about this article that came out at the Ranger Review. Because
we would like to thank our two listeners for their support.
Yes, Mary. Thank you. So it was brought to my attention about this article. I no longer subscribe to the Ranger Review. I found that their false way of reporting was very hurtful, and I didn't want to support a company that couldn't do media correctly. I just am. Anyways, so let's talk about this article where it's about the year of the mayor, of her progress, we'll call it. Okay, so Mayor Dion stated, officially marking 1 year as Mayor of Glendive, Deb Dion took a moment this week to publicly acknowledge an extensive set of events and accomplishments she feels privileged to be part of. Moving rather quickly through the City of Glendive Council agenda during its meeting on Tuesday, which I did not take part in. I had to close at work, so I was not able to make it to the meeting, which, I mean, I would love to have been in that field, or little seat out there in the field of crickets. I took the opportunity to speak up during the mayor comments portion of the proceedings to make known all that has happened in the community since October last year when she was appointed. So, let's list some of these. Extinguishing largest fire in Glendive history, the Jordan Inn fire, with no injuries. I would like to say there was actually injuries because multiple firemen had issues.
Yeah.
A lot of fire departments came from other communities, and there are still community members that are affected by what happened with this fire with the air.
Yeah.
And their
air quality was poor.
Yes.
It's just, I guess, layered on top of all of the other fires, and the fact that the building was known as asbestos and mold. Yeah.
Granted, we're still wondering in this community how many bodies they have found in that basement. As most of us know that it was used as a meth lab many times, and the homeless broke in there and such, whatever. Completed Yellowstone River BNSF rail yard bore projects. I don't know much on that, so I can't really comment. I know that Frank Cian cemented their sewer hole, and BN currently at the Roundhouse has to use a porta potty because, BN was accused of dumping things down their sewer line, but we didn't check into it. Instead, we just poured concrete down the hole. And now they get to use a porta potty.
Wait, didn't the Ranger Review call it the scorched earth? Like he scorched earthed it when he... I thought that was what one of them quoted our public works of saying that was the philosophy of concreting it in. But I might be... I will apologize if I misquoted that, but... well, I think the boring projects, all of the boring projects were a part of, I do know a little history if this is what it is, and I keep drinking my tea and choking. That is what I'm doing. It's not air quality right now, just kidding me. But it was before Kitty and I were at City Hall. It was Jerry Jemison and Kevin, that it was a part of like the ARPA funding, and I believe, and so they were the ones that it was Kevin that got the funding to do that project. And so so it was before us because I know Kitty announced that we were awarded that, and she had publicly thanked Kevin for all his hard work.
Yeah.
And that was like in 22
Yeah.
that I think that happened.
Now this one just tickles my tickle. Fully staffed, restored at Glendyke Police Department and Dispatch Center. Did you know a full-time dispatcher walked off the job?
When?
Oh, just a few days ago.
No, I did not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and let's not forget the police chief currently has felony charges. But he's on administrative leave without pay. Okay. Yeah. And you fired him once and they hired him back. Oh, Lord Almighty. Okay.
I'm going to choke on my tea again, but that's okay. I got it.
I'm loving this. Okay.
Okay.
Bristol Defense established as a new local industrial business. Sorry, I can't talk tonight because obviously.
Do you know anything? What's
Last I heard,
now?
they had like 2 employees because everybody walked out and quit.
And I did not know that. I know that it doesn't look very active over there, but maybe
It's not safe either. So I mean, if the terrorists wanted to come on over to Montana. We got plenty of ammo for you.
Please don't invite the terrorists to Glendive.
I mean, it might bring us a little more livelihood. Fuck. Oops, sorry. My language. You caught that. My apologies to our listeners.
Both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Negotiated 6-month renewal contract with JMP Pound Puppies for impounding dogs at large.
Okay. Well, and we are very grateful because it was in 2022 that the previous contract with the veterinarian had ended, and the veterinarian did not want to continue to do that. And Bill Clunder, who was the acting chief of police at the time, reached out to J&P Pound Puppies in 2022. They actually reached out to Assistant Chief Clunder, and they had made that arrangement. Back then, he made he helped facilitate that with the sheriff's office back in 2022. So I'm really glad that Patty and Joe Simmons are continuing to work with the city and the county.
Now let's just hope the city continues to pay its bill. Okay.
Oh.
Purchase of a kennel for a 10 days rabies quarantine capability. Again, I can't talk tonight.
I don't know.
So
much.
obviously,
Yeah. I don't know much about that.
I swear I can speak, but obviously not tonight. Awarded a $500,000 transportation alternatives grant for sidewalk between Interstate 94 and Dawson County Fairgrounds.
I know about that.
Yeah, weren't you part of that?
I was. Okay, but now I followed good people. Because originally it was Kevin Dorward and Jerry Jemison that had that idea. And, okay, so it all started way back in like 2016 when Jerry Jemison was sitting with Bike Walk Montana president at the time, I think, Kathy Aragon, and they were having coffee. And Kathy was talking to Mayor Jemison at the time about how great it would be to have biking paths on Merrill. Mayor Jemison reached out to Shane Mintz at MDT and wanted to make that happen. And since 2016, they were working on making that happen. So that alternative transportation grant in on North Merrill, on the other side of the interstate, could only happen because of the bike lanes on this side, because MDT took the bike paths across the interstate. And so it was Great West Engineering and Kevin Dorwart and Jerry Jemison that I think it was in 2021 had applied for that alternative transportation grant. And so the grant writer from Great West was highly offended when they didn't get that grant the first time. But the council back in like 2021 had approved at that point the match for the grant that you had to have. And so I got the grant writer from Great West and myself and Kitty met with that grant committee, Zoomed with them to find out what was deficiencies that needed to be improved, and so they wanted to focus on safety, and so I went around and talked to the Vets Home, Head Start, Eastern Montana Mental Health, Action, the hotels, and we're able to get letters of support from all of the hotels and all of those other agencies, including Eastern Montana Vets Home, to write letters of support on how the sidewalk project needed to be there for safety. I did the legwork, but that was team effort because it was a great grant writing from Great West Engineering that got us awarded that grant in 2023. Yeah. And I didn't need to, because when Mayor Jimison was there, he had got the council to approve the match already, and so we just had to rewrite the grant. But Jerry Jimison started that, and I think Peggy Iba. I think they started
awesome.
it. Yeah.
You know what I think would really, really great? Because we live in an area that a lot of people do utilize their bikes a lot.
Yeah.
Is getting a bike lane actually on the interstate. That would be nice.
It would, and it won't happen because I've been on many a phone call with MDT and out of Helena, and yes, it would, but it won't ever happen.
I mean,
the liability is
right,
too huge for the state.
I get that, but people do it anyways, and it's just, it would be a way to be nice to get them off the main stretch.
Guess what, though? So I know this takes us off of our news article a little bit, but it segues into Trails and Paths. So I was on the call. I think I've told you about Lilia Mallon, who is the National Park Service trail consultant, that we got Badlands got a grant for her technical assistance, and so we're on 2 years with her. So we are Zooming a lot. Her main office is in Bozeman, but it was last week or the week before, we're on the phone with MDT, and we had made a plea to them about the bike riders that have been, our cyclists that are on like 254, 253, Old Highway 10, and they are going to put it's safety signage for cyclists this next year on Old Highway 10, and then we're going to go back and make the I guess try to plea with them also on the two other highways, but it's a huge win and good work with MDT. We're really grateful for them.
Yeah, so that was another point that Miss Diana had said, that she was, got that done also, but we all know that you'd been working on that for years. So.
And here's the thing, is everything is teamwork. There is not one person that can make anything happen by themselves. And I was really excited because it was the same grant writer with Great West Engineering that wrote the grant. It was the Community Development Block Grant for our town, the Glendives Path and Trail Master Plan. And that didn't cost Glendive anything because Headwaters Economics out of Bozeman, also that does a lot of work in Eastern Montana, did the match. And so the city council had given me permission to get that grant written for the master plan because Headwaters Economics was paying the match and there was no cost whatsoever to the city.
Awesome. So, award of House Bill 355, funds for improvements along Douglas and Bell Streets, which I don't know what that one is. So, I know that they fixed some road situation.
Yeah. Each of the communities, I believe that HB 355 came out in 2023. And it was a legislative body had allocated by population, I think, funds to all of the incorporated municipalities, I believe, on that one. But I would have to say that if somebody corrected on me, I own that.
We'll
I
have
just
to
thought
look that up for next time.
Yeah.
Probably. We talked about the completion of the Trails Master Plan, which you did.
And I was able to, it was a committee, but I did 20 hours worth of community engagement to do surveys for that.
Yeah, you did.
I think I did 100, and I collected 150 surveys for our community.
Completion of the Merrill Avenue Improvements Project.
I'm thinking that's MDT's that was in there. They put it in there. I got a chance to go to 2 of their big strategic planning that they have, and basically they talk about all the projects and all over, and they've got they lay out everything for 5 years, all of the projects, and so the Merrill one has been sitting in their carousel now, and then so it got brought up in the 2 annual strategic planning meetings I went to, because it was in 22, the fall of 22, that they were having one of their community meetings at the Epic about that.
So I never went to those meetings, but I've heard lots of scuttlebutt about how much people didn't want Merrill touched. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I have no problem with the way Merrill is done. No problem at all. I like it. I do. I like how there's the bike lanes. They told us they were going to take parking away from one side of the street, and they didn't take it away all the way down. I really wish they would have. Yeah. Because there's really no reason to have it on both sides. And for the safety of our kids during parades, that was a big thing that I was really aiming for. But
I remember that.
Yep.
You spoke publicly at the council meetings about that.
Yep. But it is what it is. But they've been asked where they're putting the snow, and it is going to be in the turning lanes, but they're supposed to be cleaning it up faster now, which, we'll see.
And that's not on the city. And so
no, I'm talking about the state.
Yeah.
Yep. But I kind of hope that they use the parking lane on the one side that they were never supposed to have, to just freaking throw the snow over that way, which, it's October, and knock on wood, there ain't no white crap on the ground, and I'm pretty stoked about it.
I know.
I like having a non-white crap Halloween.
Hey, how about if we sit out here in snowsuits and do podcast on the porch when it snows in our snowsuits? We can get a little fire pit going here.
We'll buy you a fire pit.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Numerous water and sewer infrastructure upgrades, which that's been going on for a long time. Because 2019, mine was done.
Yep. And that was Kevin Dorwart.
Yep.
Kevin had done
this
that.
one is kind of a kickle. Kickle. You like that? Kickle.
Kickle.
Cleaning up rubble left by the Jordan End fire with no cost to local taxpayers. Well, let me get this straight here. The EPA and the DEQ had to come up and clean it up because they were too busy fighting over who was going to pay for it. And it did affect taxpayers because that affected...
That's federal.
That's federal money.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but last I checked, I pay some money to federal taxes. In the equivalence of last year was $26,000. So
yeah, and so so what that was a little bit of misinformation there because it is the EPA and the DEQ, and they come in when there is a Superfund disaster is when they come in. Now, and so I guess what you can say is that it got spread out to all of the taxpayers and not just Glendive's taxpayers. I guess there's that. And Carrie, honestly, other than the fact that, we don't know what the effects of, like the asbestos and the mold are going to be to the community, but whether that thing was standing or knocked down like this, it was always, I think that was one thing. It was Gerald Riker had said, it must have been early in 2022. He made a comment. It was at a council meeting or a committee meeting, and he said, someday the city of Glendive is going to have to do something about the Jordan.
I was at that meeting.
Were you at that one?
Yes, I was.
Yes.
Because it was brought up again when they were talking about nuisances.
Yeah.
And that at the time, Fire Chief Lane went in there and shut it down, condemned it. And if I remember correctly, it was because sprinklers weren't working on one of the floors. There was holes in roofs. There was a hole in one of the floors that somebody went through. Like, it was just an infrastructure nightmare. And if it caught on fire, everybody said nobody would make it out of there alive.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, it caught on fire.
And the one of the huge differences with the Jordan, and because I was 1 month in when the Ponderosa went up, and was that first of all, there were investigators all over heck on the Ponderosa when they finally came and removed it, and it was sitting in building soup because the water had been running on it. So thankfully it wasn't like an asbestos disaster. It was just a ugly disaster.
You know what, honestly, pause for a second. I'm kind of glad it was running soup. Because think about all the dust that was...
I know.
So, for one thing, we can be thankful for that. Because that would have, like, really killed everybody's lungs.
It was a mixed blessing. It really was. But in the end, that one was absolutely no cost to the taxpayers. Because Kitty and I and Frank hounded the insurance companies enough. And they paid for it all. And so, but in this case... I don't know. I think they had liability on it. And so there was no insurance on that. And it was in probate. And so it was, but it's, the misinformation is that the cost was spread federally to taxpayers, not just the city of Glendive.
Right. Okay. Establishment of pickleball courts. I don't know where they're at, but I guess we have them.
Yeah, and which is great. I think
I still don't know what pickleball is.
The tennis in some of the tennis courts, and then a plug to our Deer County commissioners. They are funding building the pickleball courts over in West Glendive too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This one will chop a lot of people's butt. As I say it, closure of the recreational department to reduce the city budget with no loss in activities and services. Okay, so I'm going to start here. And damned if I do or damned if I don't. But the people that show up to fight for this recreational department at the last minute never show up to any other meetings. And I'm going to call them keyboard warriors. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but if they would have shown up to these other meetings that I had been voicing over and over and over again the problems, we could have probably saved the recreational department years ago. But then again, nobody wanted to show up. They wanted to be keyboard warriors, and then at the last minute, bring themselves to City Hall at a meeting and voice their concerns then. But didn't want to show up any other time. Now, I will say, while you were mayor, a lot of them showed up for a lot of stuff and voiced their concerns then. We filled the hall, we filled the seats. But it seems like ever since you're not there, people don't show up. So it's very interesting to me that it seems like they don't care anymore. Nobody showed up for the fact that the council agreed to raise our taxes for us city residents when we're one of the highest taxed properties in the state of Montana, our county is. But yet we're not there to voice that concern, but they took a department completely out, but yet are still raising our taxes. We have in my opinion, an overstaffed entity of a city employees. There's too many people that are working in this city. And I'm going to tell, like, I've lived here for 15 years now. And I've never seen so many dispatchers. I've never seen so many people in the police department. I've never seen so many police vehicles. I've never seen so many people working in City Hall. I've never seen so many public works employees. Like, I'm just baffled at the fact that we keep making up jobs and hiring people at the whim. But we're broke, and we closed the department.
From a economic development and a city growth concept, when you I have a positive to come with this negative. If we don't look at creating the recreation for our youth and the families, they will go somewhere else. They just will. Now, that being said, I think one thing that we could look at in the future, and I don't know if anybody's looking into it or not, is a rec district. and where it is, it's like a school district. I think we might have talked about it in one of our podcasts.
Yep, we did.
But when, now, is it water and sewer? No, but it's just as vital for community and for development and growth as good water and sewer. And I have to tell you that the manager of our water and sewer, I love him. He's amazing, and he takes his job very seriously. And we need that, but we also need recreation. And that is what...
Well, and I was looking at the statements that I was able to get to look at. And I'm going to give a prime example. The amount of money the pool wasted on pool chemicals because they didn't follow the guidelines of where to store them. So pool chemicals are not supposed to be stored above temperatures above 70 because it makes the bleach get you hot and it's no good. But yet we never moved them from the area that they were stored in, which then in return made it to where we were buying pool chemicals every 2 weeks because our crap wasn't any good.
And then I think that's a really good point too, because a part of the rec budget was chemicals and supplies, and I'm not sure about this because I don't remember, but I think the staff that did the parks and that mowed and all of that came out of that budget. It wasn't just the rec director.
No, it wasn't. That's what I was getting to, is like the watering of the parks. Why we're paying our money back to ourselves, I don't know, but like we should have never been paying $185,000 to water our parks. That's a bit extreme. And in an area where we're in eastern Montana, where we're in drought a lot, most of us that own homes don't even water every day. Why are the parks being watered every day? Should be every other day. Still stay green, especially when you plant the right grass. But then they turn around and complain that they couldn't keep up with the mowing. Well, common sense would say you don't water it every day because it grows twice as fast. I mean, if it was a garden, fine. But it wasn't. It was grass, park grass. It's very concerning that you're going to charge that. And then when I was looking at the stuff for the pool and all that, and I looked at a lot of the old stuff that was done back in the day, it's just confusing to me why we allowed, and nothing to Jackie or them, but why we allowed them to change so many things without it going through the tax votes. Because pool hours should have never been able to be changed that often. They were changed a lot. Like when you look at the schedules.
I think it was really, I don't know what happened to our workforce, Carrie.
But it wasn't just that, though. Like,
did everybody get raptured and I got left behind? I think that
there's a lot of things that went into that, though. Like, they increased the amount of swimming lessons they did and took it away from the public open swim times. Stuff like that. Like, why did we do that? Yeah, I understand that during the oil boom, we had an influx of children in our community because so many people moved here. But then on the hindsight of 2020 here, you also took away from a lot of the children that already knew how to swim, but they couldn't swim because now you took away their open swim time.
But you also have to understand that Jackie
it wasn't just Jackie running it, though.
Well, but when she did, and I only went through 2 seasons of it, but the 2 seasons that I was there, she submitted the schedules to the city council during her she would come to that FUPR and submit that, and so that was all
right, but
by the council.
But she was only there for this amount of time, but during the oil boom she wasn't there.
No.
So it's like what went on from there to here that, things got changed so much, and when I was looking at all the years of statements of like the pool passes and stuff that were bought, from that time, they drastically went, whew. So that shows you that was a lot of money lost. And then the non-bookkeeping of all the people that signed up for all these programs and stuff to see where we lost, what we lost. And the fact that this is the other thing is, why were we charging a daycare to utilize our recreational department $1.15 a day? That's mind-blowing to me, because you were a previous gym owner. You never charged anybody $25 a month to utilize your gym. It was more than that. And that was just for one person. We're talking 50 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying screw the daycare. I'm saying, come on, this is a huge amount of money, and we saved this slot time for them, and you charge them $1.15.
I think it will be, I'm really excited. I hope that community members come forward, and because there would need to be public meetings, it would have to go on ballots and everything for a rec district.
It really would, and I think it would be huge and beneficial. Like what Dickinson has is freaking awesome. It's awesome. That whole recreation center thing they have, it is. They have the indoor and the outdoor. They have the saunas. They have hot tubs. They've got indoor volleyball, basketball, racquetball.
Holy cow, I got the opportunity to see coal strips. Oh my goodness. And so, but that goes back to economic development. It was the energy companies down there that basically supported that coal strip, which I can't tell you what the population is right now. They have like 23 parks. Their rec center, their staff is so proud of their rec center, and I mean, the funding is phenomenal, but the vision is even more. It's amazing. They have a breakfast club there where littles come in and eat breakfast. They have a supper club there where their after school program, they have people there that help the kids finish their homework while moms and dads are at work, and then if they sign up for supper, they can eat supper there. But when I was talking with we were down at their energy expo down there, and talking to the staff, we got a tour, and they were passionate about the fact that no one goes hungry, whether they can afford a meal or not. And it was just cool. But yeah, their rec center their model is amazing.
This is my thing about Glendive. It needs to come out of the 50s. There's a lot of people still here that believe that women's places are to sit at home and take care of children. And that just baffles me to no end, that we live in a community that is expensive, that almost every parent works. We have a huge amount of population here that has food stamps, huge amount. That should tell you that people can't afford to be a one working home household. And I'm not against people on food stamps. Now, if they want to sit at home on welfare with the amount of jobs we have open in our community, I have a problem with that. But I have no problem helping you feed your kids, helping you feed yourself. That should tell you that they need to get out of the 50s mindset. They really do. Because we have places here that are opened hours that do not fit this mindset that we have on the other side. You cannot find a daycare here in this town that is open past 5:45 p.m. Yeah. It doesn't happen.
I think it's workforce again. But
it's in the communities that we've all lived in that have the rec district, that have that beautiful after school program, or some people have it as the Boys and Girls Club, or there's another name. Is it YMCA? Yeah. Where they all pay to have their children have somewhere safe to go after school. Because of that, we know we need this availability. But yet we now have a city that wants to change their work schedule to 10-hour work days, with the city hall wanting change and such like that they're failing to realize that we have such a huge population in our community that don't work those type of hours. Mm-mm. Like, half of our community works 12-hour shifts. Think about it. We've got the hospital. They're all 12-hour shifts, if not 24s. We've got a correctional facility that is 12-hour shifts or longer. We got a sheriff's department that works 12s. Our police department, I think, is on 8s. But you have a huge amount of people. You have the old folks' homes. We've got, 3 retirement homes in our community, or nursing homes, whatever you want to call them. They're on 12-hour shifts. Like, group homes, they're 12-hour shifts. A lot of people forget about those people completely forget about those people. So we now have a city government that wants to change the shifts that are 10 hours and close a day of the week. Like, it didn't make no rhyme or reason when you read that whole thing. And yes, I'm going to that meeting tomorrow at 4:00 because I really want to know how they think they're going to be able to serve the public working 4/10s. And not only that, but it violates Montana Code annotated.
Oh, hey, let's get back to our, how are we doing on our
So,
article? Okay.
So she says city employee overtime greatly reduced. Now, that's interesting because I don't see how it's greatly reduced when, let's use Frank Cian's quote. If they can't get done in the day, they'll finish their work their next day and they'll just carry the hours over. Violates labor code, but so you don't pay them overtime. So what happens if they don't finish their work for the Friday on time and they're supposed to leave early? Answer me that. Yeah. So we go back to this thing that kind of youth soccer programs continues thanks to local parents and volunteers, which used to belong to our recreational department. Which, on side note, we already had a traveling soccer program that started up last year thanks to Barbara O'Day. She put together that whole big thing because other communities were doing it, and I know she stepped up to help this because she really is into soccer. That's her jam. I'm not understanding the hiring a consultant to assist with the city's online presence, why we're wasting money on that, when you can't tell me out of the plethora of employees you have that not one of them knows how to work Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, the web page, any of that.
That is so interesting. It is so interesting because, personally, my level of dumbness when it comes to Facebook and social media. And it was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember when I asked permission to just investigate. It was at a personnel committee meeting. A public information officer is what I had asked for. And if I could, research that to assist with Facebook, because the staff at City Hall, when I asked them about it, said they didn't want to do it and they didn't have time. That is what I was told when I asked. And Leon Baker looked at me and he smiled and he said, Mayor, you're the public information officer. And because I had brought what exactly a public information officer was, I brought the definition of that and how it would work and how it would be of benefit. And so I never even got the opportunity to investigate it because it was shut down in that personnel meeting.
Well, I want to let you know the consultant that they hired doesn't even live here. Yeah. Lives up towards Canada.
A PIO is specially trained. They are specifically trained for. That's all I had been asking for is, can we train one of our staff? There was a police officer out at the police department that was excited about the opportunity to be the PIO, and I got shut down.
Improved doctor room and guidelines for public meetings. So you mean throwing us in jail if we speak out of turn? Or if we say something they don't like, we will be charged with disorderly conduct.
So I think that,
which
first, when we had welcomed people to speak for 3 minutes, when I wanted to hear what the community had to say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And let me tell you, I got my rear end chewed for 3 minutes of people's time. When that Ponderosa burnt down, every meeting there were people in there yelling at me about that. And I never threatened them. And I got yelled at by all of the business people, and they would come to every meeting and yell at me. And I think that it needs to be said too, Carrie. I might have gotten chewed out by you a couple times too. And so it's not like there was no special favors to me. And I listened and I thanked people for their comments, and we moved on to get chewed out by someone else. And so that's what being in a public office is. So
I brought up the mayor's rules of conduct for the city of Glendive public meetings. Okay. This huge 8x10 piece of paper that has 16 rules on it. Okay. Except for public hearing duty designated, sorry, it's tiny, as such by action of the City of Glendive Council, public participation at meetings of the City Council shall be limited to the public participation segment of the agenda of regular City Council meetings or special meetings. Public comment, whether during the public segment of the City Council meetings, committee meetings, or during a duly designated public hearing, shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, and an individual's time may not be given or traded to other speakers reserved for other portions of the meeting. Any person wishing to speak at a public meeting during the public participation segment or during a public hearing must sign up the sign-up sheet upon entering the room, indicating his or her intention to speak. The sheet shall be used by the mayor or the presiding officer to recognize speakers. Any person wishing to speak at a public meeting during the public participation segment or during a public hearing will be recognized by the mayor or officer. The individual must stand and state his or her name and address, and if appropriate, a group affiliation, and must state the subject he or she will be addressing. Comments must relate to the purpose of the public hearing or to legitimate city business and must be addressed to the mayor. Attendees may not address the City Council unless recognized by the mayor. The mayor, the presiding officer, or the mayor shall designate another elected official or city official as official timekeeper. Members of the City Council, speakers, and audience members must observe proper doctrine. Any statements made during the meetings or during a public hearing by the mayor, members of the City Council, city officials or employees, or members of the general public shall not involve personnel, impertinent or slanderous attacks on individuals, regardless of whether the individual so attacked is an elected official, a city official or employee, or a member of the general public. The mayor or the presiding officer shall control the meeting. The use of profane, vulgar, inflammatory, threatening, abusive, or disparaging language. My bifocals are not focaling. Or racial or ethnic slurs directed at the mayor, members of the City Council, city officials or employees, and members of the general public, or statements by a person attending the meeting which are not made during the public participation segment of the agenda or during a public hearing shall not be tolerated. It is inappropriate to utilize a public meeting for the purpose of making political speeches, including threats of political action, and the same will not be tolerated. So you can't tell them you're going to get them recalled.
Did you do that?
Last year. Oh. Discussion between speakers and attendees of the City Council or committee meetings or hearings as are prohibited. A speaker may disagree with or support your prior speakers and comments directed to the City Council. No person attending a meeting or public hearing shall engage in booing, hand clapping, or otherwise disrupt the formality of the proceedings. Banners, flyers, or other signs are not permitted in the meeting room. Distribution of flyers in the meeting room is also not permitted. All cell phones and pagers must be turned off. Violation of Montana Code annotated. Attendees, when leaving the board meeting before it is adjourned, must leave it quiet and orderly manner while outside the meeting room and hallway as to not disrupt the meeting. If the mayor or presiding officer fails to enforce the rules set forth hereon, any member of the City Council may be moved to require him or her to do so. An affirmative vote of majority of the City Council shall require him or her to do so. Any decision relating to enforcement of the rules set forth herein may be appealed and overturned by a vote of majority of the City Council members. Any person who disregards the directive of the mayor or presiding officer enforcing the rules of generally conduct himself or herself in a boisterous or an inappropriate manner while addressing the City Council or otherwise during a meeting disrupts the peace at a meeting may be barred from further participation and lose any balance of time remaining for his or her comment. If a speaker who violates these rules refuses to step down, the mayor or the presiding officer may ask the individual to be removed from the meeting room and charged with disorderly conduct and in accordance with penal law.
Oh.
So, if you didn't know, that's what they plan on doing with you. Okay, so I just want to tell you that there's many violations of law in there, and the city attorney Rubus just sat there, and when I read MCA code annotated to him of the violations, he didn't say anything. Working on implementing online bill payment system, updating all city ordinances, and city hall security cameras have been installed. So, that
I like the online payment option.
I haven't seen it yet, and I probably should look at it because I need to pay my water bill. But I'm shocked and all that. But, I hope whoever runs for mayor next is somebody that actually wants to look at our city and say, we need to fix this. And let's be real, it's going to take more than one term to fix. Because it's not just the mayor that needs to sit there and fix it. It's the numerous council members. The same council members that have been sitting in that seat approving the city budget over and over and over again and seeing that, oh, wait, we're in the red, not the black. And keep approving it and approving it and approving it. And didn't listen to Ms. Schmidt last year when she said, we can't afford those raises. It will bankrupt us. And guess what? We're pretty much bankrupt.
Yep.
We don't have the money. I mean, the rumor mill was they wanted to shut down the fire department because how much money it would save them.
Wow. You know what I'm really excited about? I'm not sure who's on. So there's going to be the local government studies coming up. And I had signed up to be a part of the county's local government because it's city and county. And we won't be notified officially until after the election, even though it's not on the ballot. Have you voted yet? Make sure you vote. Do you get a...
I go in person.
Oh, I took mine in already. But
I don't good with that. I do not do good with anything mailed to me. I have to go in person. So that's why I rarely vote on school stuff because it's mailed and they know people like me exist. So it has to be in my face and I have to do it because
I like it.
My problem with me is that you mail it to me, that's too many steps. Too many steps. I have to open the envelope. I have to read it. I have to freaking fill it in. Then I have to do that double sealing, sign so much crap. And then I physically have to take that crap in or put a stamp on it. Nope. I can't. I cannot do that. My ADHD. No, my ADHD mind cannot do it. I don't know what it is. I cannot do it. When I lived overseas, I always threw them away. I couldn't do it.
Don't know what to say about you right now.
And I'm not lazy. I'm not. But literally that just, the one time when you were running, I don't remember what you were running for, and I voted for you. And Dennis reminded me so many times. It was so bad that he took it in front of me and he was like, fill it out, sign it, and I will drop it off. And I was like, okay.
Oh.
So I filled it out, I signed it, and he dropped it off for me.
I like it.
Because he had to drop his off. He knows me.
Well, good for you. So there's going to be the local government studies coming up this next year, and I will, as soon as I learn, because like I said, they're not even going to notify us until after the election. Wait, where are we at on our time? You're looking at our time. What?
50 minutes.
Holy cow, we need to stop. This is enough. Our two listeners are not going to want to listen to us this long. Anyway, I think, your blanket has gone all the way up to your neck now.
Well, I was bothering me. It was upside down.
Okay, so we should we're at 50 minutes. I think we've done good here. Yeah. This was beefy. We've got a lot of good things to talk about next time. So
Yes, we will talk about it. It may not be on Sunday, listeners. I hate to say it, but sometimes
our two listeners, sometimes we
have to wait for Carrie's day off. and Teresa's day off to match.
And so, from the porch,
From Podcast on the Porch, this is Carrie.
and Teresa,
Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
bye.